Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Absorb Elements. And my camera went off again.
Incredible. I absorbed the elements from your video, is what happened. I sucked
Nice.
it all in. Incredible. This is a Druid, Ranger, Sorcerer, Wizard, Artificer spell, first level. I think this is where I want reaction spells to be as far as like their power. I think Shield and Silver Barbs go a bit too far. I think this is a nice little sweet spot where you get a little niche effect, get a little bit of upside. Not the best thing in the world at first level, but it is perfectly reasonable. And then upper tiers, it's great to have in your back pocket. So takes a reaction to cast. That reaction is taken, which is whenever you would take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different damage types. The spell captures some of the incoming energy, lessening its effect on you and storing it for your next melee attack. You have resistance to the triggering damage type until the start of your next turn. Also, the first time you hit with a melee attack on your next turn, the target takes an extra d6 damage of the triggering type. You could have cast this to get a bonus d6 damage per slot up on your weapon attack. Never do that. It's never worth it. The bulk of what this text says is you get resistance to a damage type, which is notable because it'll block things like an acid breath from a black dragon, or a fire breath from a red dragon, or a big lightning bolt from a storm giant, right? This is a silver bullet against very big, splashy, powerful one-shot potential 12d10 damaging effects in the upper tiers, and that makes it really nice to have on basically every character that gets access to it.
I like this one a lot. In fact, all right, just the absorbing elements, the damage resistance, that's enough. I think
Yep.
that makes this a good spell. The you know discharge you get, being able to throw a little bit back at it, that's gravy that I really am happy is there.
I
However,
agree.
I wonder how effective it is because these creatures doing these damage types a lot of times are resistant or immune to their own damage type,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this text mainly exists for low tier play. I think Absorb Elements as a first level spell would feel pretty awful on low tier characters that are like breaking half of the enemy burning hands, right? Where you've got 3d6 in a cone and you go, okay, I take half damage from the 3d6, so you don't instantly get dropped. But then you then have a d6 damage on your next weapon attack to do a little bit more juice. So like a druid with shillelagh or a ranger with their long sword or whatever, or their short sword more likely, or even their bow, right? Because it does say melee, so it
That's
has to
melee,
be,
yeah.
yeah, it has to be like a short sword or something. You can get a little bit extra juice in the early tier out of it. I think that's where Absorb Elements is that text matters, because it's going to be mainly against spellcasters that are doing those kinds of damaging effects anyway. Those spellcasters likely don't have resistances to that damage type. Against things like Slod and which are the acid, I think Slaughter acid. We got salamanders that are fire. Those are a little bit in the more mid tier where you could resist this damage. You don't really need to be resisting the 1d6 fire damage that is on a salamander attack. You don't really need to be resisting the bonus damage that a lot of the monsters with that resistance are doing passively. You're much more interested in doing the big bulk stuff. And that's going to, again, be more upper tier dragon fights. It's going to be beholder fights. It's going to be giant, splashy, explosive damage coming from spell effects or spell-like abilities that are doing huge cones that would wipe the whole party, and you go, actually, I'm fine. I take half damage from this at minimum. And whenever you pass the save, you take quarter damage. That's huge.
Yeah, and it gives you options. If you happen to know or suspect that the creature is immune to their own damage type, then and there's other creatures around, you can go hit somebody else with it,
Yep.
or decide, all right, I'm just going to forego the discharge and I'm going to attack them normally.
Yeah, you already shrugged off like potentially 30 some damage. That's
Right.
good enough for a first
Yeah,
level
yeah.
spell slot. This scales absurdly well with the game, right? We talk about how low level spells that give resistances scale superbly well. Things like shield giving plus AC takes things that would deal more damage and making them miss, scales way better as the game progresses because you're mitigating higher and higher and higher quantities of damage with these cheap, redundant effects that you can just spam all your low level resources onto. I think Absorb Elements is the perfect example of that. I also really like that it's not something that you're going to be using every single round of every single fight. Whenever you've got shield, a lot of times the upper tier on like blade singers, on armors, on a ton of different character archetypes that are just, we are a thick frontline caster kind of character. Shield is just a one round. If you're doing one big splashy fight at a long rest anyway, you're just like, okay, shield every turn. Easy. I can spend the first level slots on this. I got tons of them to go. My AC is artificially inflated by 5. With absorb elements, there's literally no reason to, right? You'll say, okay, the one big breath weapon I use my reaction on, I block that, I absorb some of those damage, I take less damage. You still take some damage. You're not like invincible, which is what shield often results in you feeling. It's not like you can turn off all enemy attacks, something like silvery barbs, while also empowering all your allies and stuff like that, right? There's a lot less super high highs, but the mitigation that it provides is super meaningful. It'll feel great whatever it happens. You're still taking some damage, but you're taking less damage, and it's a lot less damage. And ultimately, that's where I think this really sticks the landing and nails how resistance to a damage type can be easily accessible to characters for a cost. This hits all the sweet spots that I want it to in a really concise, clean way.
Yeah, I mean, it's absorb elements. It's not like absorb fire or something. So it's not like hyper specific. That's good.
I mean, it does miss out on radiant and necrotic damage, which I'm a little bit bummed out on, but that's not the end of the world, right? That means if you are a DM that's like, oh, I can't challenge my players because the absorb elements is stopping all the damage from all my cool monsters, throw them a circle of death at them. And they'll be like, well, I can't absorb that. I'm taking 10d6 necrotic. Yep.
Yeah, this is a reaction spell, which is nice.
Yes, having any extra reactions on every character that can get them will be good. Having an extra reaction on your druid, having an extra reaction on your sorcerers and wizards, even whenever they are competing with shield, you use them at different times, you're going to often want both, especially in the upper tiers. In the lower tiers, less so, but in the upper tiers, you're definitely going to want them. I really love this on Frontline Rangers. This is, Frontline Rangers don't get shield, they don't get silvery barbs, they do get absorb elements, and that will help them feel like the naturalist, survivalist. They can stick through acid rain, they can stick through lightning bolts, they can survive through the hardiest, the biggest, splashiest elements. They can survive and power through. They can get through the cone of cold. They can get through the fireball. That's really fitting thematically to me, and that's why I'm super glad the class gets it.
As am I. Yeah, but I really wish my camera would stop screwing around.
I don't know what's happening. We'll have to figure it out in between videos. It's gonna be great. In either case, I think Absorb Elements is a 4 out of 5, and this is a top tier little reaction spell. I'm glad everyone that gets it. I take it on, I don't know if like you take it at first level, but around 4th, 5th level, whenever you're starting to have a little bit more space on your sheet to prepare stuff, this is a pretty big no-brainer, especially if you're like a druid and you're preparing it prior to a dragon fight, right? This can be the kind of or first level spell where you don't need to prepare it every single encounter until the upper tiers, and in the lower tiers, you can just be like, okay, we're going to this fight, I'll take it for this fight.
All right, what is keeping this from being a 5? God damn it. What is keeping this from being a 5 out of 5?
I don't think it is going to be as universally obnoxious as shield is to deal with. I don't think this breaks the game in half. I reserve my 5 out of 5s for spells that are, your DM has to go, oh my god, I have to deal with a character that's got a 33 AC right now. Or, oh my goodness, this Find Familiar is at first level like a second character with giving help actions all the time and is doing a whole bunch of stuff that makes my brain hurt. Fireball hits the table and you're like, I thought I could keep throwing small creatures at them, and I can't anymore because Fireball just insta-kills all of them. That is what I reserve 5 out of 5s. Absorbs Elements, you have resistance to a meaningful damage type. You can just stay alive in a bigger fight, but your DM doesn't have to reshape encounters around you. Your DM's not going, oh my goodness, I can't send a red dragon at them because of Absorb Elements. Whenever you've got an armored character with shield, they have to go, okay, how on earth do I actually challenge something that has this spell on their character sheet?
Well, I mean, I'm going to base this on it being really, really good. I've got no complaints. It's a reaction spell, which we get far too few of. 5 out of 5 all the way from me.
Love it. Easy recommendation. Very powerful effect. I would highly recommend players that want to take it. It's very good.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're having technical difficulties. All right, that's yeah, we don't want to bog down people with this. That was Absorb Elements. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'll see what I can do about this camera stuff next time. But yeah, let us know what you think about Absorb Elements down in the comments, and then like and subscribe to the channel, and maybe I'll be able to afford better equipment. All right.
That's a great point.
See you next time. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.